That's okay.
Oh, all right, excellent.
Yeah.
Well, Kat, maybe we can start by you telling us a little bit about yourself as an artist, your practice, and maybe what inspires you for those
Yeah.
who don't know you.
Yeah, so I do representational work. I try to have a bit of humor in my work. So often I've worked with a lot of different animals. So most lately I'm in this dog series that I've been working on for a while. And there, I'm just going to sit for a minute. So what inspires me is really the natural world, but I guess underlying the whole, all of the work really is about folly. I'm interested in folly, human folly, and just being free and loose. So some of the dog work is about that, about dogs cavorting outside, and that kind of edge where maybe it's going to turn into something that's a problem. So, but they're having a great deal of fun at that moment. So, um, so I'm that's my art practice revolves around. I do try to get into the studio every day and spend about half the day at a minimum. Depends on how things are going.
Right.
And I'm working in acrylics and occasionally oils. My background though was in um, sculpture, so I feel like there's some kind of element of that where I sort of set the stage. I kind of because when you're dealing with animals like dogs or birds, you don't have. It's not that you're going to do much in the plein air field of just grabbing them on site. So you have to kind of stage it a little bit. So the latest piece on is based on a kind of a proverb: one dog barks at nothing and 10,000 dogs pass it on. So the idea there, it's a kind of thing where you might hear something like that in passing and then it reverberates in your skull for a while, and you think of it one way. Yeah, they're barking at nothing, they've nothing to say, and how silly is that? But then later, and in the last year or so, I've really started mulling that over as kind of dogs becoming a community by barking at nothing. They're just sharing their, like, hey, how you doing,
Yeah.
kind of bark. And so during this last number of months, that really gelled because well, A, I had time to work on it, and B, I own a dog and I'm dog walking all the time, so I had a chance to get some shots of dogs barking. So anyway, so the one piece that's in the show has quite a few dogs in it, and they're all barking to each other with sort of spaced out a la COVID. So I feel like that it might look kind of well, they do look, it looks kind of funny because all the dogs are barking, but there's also that sort of sense of, is it melancholy? But to me, it's funny and just describes a community that you wouldn't necessarily realize, that community action that was happening.
Yeah.
So that's one.
Yeah, I saw that in a number of your pieces. I took a look at the pieces that you had on the show site, and I thought
Mm-hmm.
just they're really like there is a little element of humor in them. Instead, some of these ones that these lone dogs are sitting in different environments as well. And I thought, oh, it's really
Yeah.
like playful, right? And then not only is their activity playful when they're in these communities, and I think that it does give that community feeling. And even when it's a lone dog, it sort of has it's like, well, who's he talking to, right? Like,
Right.
part of
Yeah.
that, right? So yeah, I love them, and your settings are so beautiful. So not only you have that energy, that experience with the dog or whatever your subject matter is, but the surroundings or the design elements, the whatever, if it's graphic design elements or if it's these beautiful landscapes, even behind the dog,
Right.
it's just beautiful. Like your ability to create the actual scene,
Yeah.
to set the scene is
Right.
it really evokes that feeling. Like it's beautiful.
Well, thanks. Yeah, that made me think that there's another painting. There were two paintings, I think, in the show that talk that include volcanoes in the distance. So, and again, that's kind of the humor. So one of them, I have the dogs. They look like they're at a meeting. They're gathering together for a little meeting, and in the distance, there's like 10 volcanoes erupting. So to me, that's like, I think about that as of kind of folly too, and I think of that in terms of humans and how there's a potential catastrophe way in the distance, but hey, let's just chill out here and have a discussion instead of paying attention to that. So that the volcano features in quite a few different pieces. So I think there's another one. That one was called, I think it's called Just Ignore the Volcanoes. But the other one is A Nice Day for a Picnic. And again, there's quite a, and that's one actually, there are humans in it, but they're so small. So there's a lot of volcanoes in the distance, and then the humans are out for a picnic. So it was just, I think that is a very telling aspect of humans, how we operate. We kind of ignore whatever's going on. Don't pay attention to that. Let's just do our thing and continue to have our fun.
Yeah.
Because why bother? Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
a little bit easier just to stay in our own little bubble. Pay attention about these bigger issues that are boiling, right? Yeah. Yeah.
that's right. So, but thank you for your kind words on those. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm yeah, I've been having fun with the dogs, and now that I've painted quite a few of them, I think I've got a little facility with how they look and what I want them to do. So,
It's beautiful work. Can you tell? I one thing I didn't know is that you just did landscape, like without animals or other representation in it, and I didn't know that about your work until I actually went onto the site and
yes,
looked at what you were selling. And I thought, like, is that?
yeah,
And it looks like it's a little bit around some travel because for those of you that
yes,
don't know, Katherine is a Toronto artist, but it looked like most of your landscapes were from travels, like Cape Cod and some other areas. So I just was wondering if you
yeah.
want to talk to that a little bit.
Oh, thank you so much for asking. Yeah, the thing about that, well, I have a group of friends, a group of painters who are, I think, largely plein air painters. So, and I like being outside and out in the outdoors. So I go along. We've traveled a few places: the Gaspé, Cape Cod, Newfoundland, and so on. And so, although I often don't do like a full-on landscape, I tend to zero in on a theme, which
Right.
is kind of what I do with my other work as well. So I'll zero in. It takes me a little while to sort of get going. I don't just sit and decide I have to like examine the place, and I usually do a little research about it. So with the marshes and the saltwater marshes, and a little bit of the history of those and how they're used in the past. So all of that sort of feeds into deciding what I'm going to do. But at the base of it, and sometimes that's how it starts with artwork, is we were driving to the Gaspé, and I just saw this one marsh on the south side of the St. Lawrence, and I like stopped the car and jumped out of the car and took a whole series of pictures of, because it was just at the turn of the season and the colors were so vibrant and the water was so still. So I was really interested in that contrast of like the sort of dynamism of the colors and all the brushes, the rushes and the grasses and all of that, and then this very, very still water. So anyway, so that turned into, I think, other people maybe painted a whole variety of things. I painted marshes and the Gaspé, the rock percé. So I kind of zero in on a theme, and then that sends me going for quite a while usually. So
Yeah, well, I think
yeah,
that's beautiful. And that brings to another point. I mean, we talked a lot about the energy and your subject matter in your other series, but we didn't really talk about the color. And your work is very colorful, right? Like I think that, like even in those paintings, it might not be the very first thing. Like I love color in work as well,
mm-hmm.
and
Right,
it might not be the first thing that grabbed you when I first looked at it. And I thought, yeah. Then I got down to your just your landscapes, and I thought, well, her work is
yeah.
really, really bright and colorful. It's like even that. Like, do you have a favorite palette that you work with? Is it those fall colors that really attract you, or is it?
Yeah, yeah, it is, and you can see with the salmon also. That's partly why did I pick salmon, because it at that certain moments it's quite a colorful fish, very bright with reds and blues. So yeah, the reds and blues and greens really drive me. And
Right.
well, I guess the fall palette though is really on the marshes. Right now I'm doing some lilies, and they're kind of the green and yellow, and with that deep, deep, deep color in behind the purples and the ultramarines, the deep water. So,
Right.
yeah, I love to use bright color. I think just it gives me joy,
Yeah.
to see it, and the vibrancy of it, and often sort of that when it came to the fish, that was sort of to me it kind of, I don't know how I did it, but in my mind I kind of connect it with the power of the fish and that exuding that color at the same time. So
Well, it's quite a
um
those fish have, right? So I think that like I think you're right, that color is very strong, but it's just
yeah,
the composition that you develop is it's very well done. Like the composition of the colors and then you still the movement and the display of the power of what's actually happening with the
right.
salmon. It's really interesting. Like they're just lovely pieces.
Oh, thanks so much. Yeah, I think the thing about and um the adding the color also gives you that concept of abstraction, so you can have a bit of fun fooling around with that, like the sheen on top of the fish, or the way the marsh grasses sort of move together and come in layers of color. So um, that's another big attraction, I would say. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, I enjoy it.
Well, beautiful work. Is there anything else you'd like to share about your practice or anybody who is inspires your work, or is it just
Yeah, well, it's funny because I kind of have the darker theme, which is sometimes, there's some dire incident like a volcano erupting in the background, and this lighthearted aspect. So, in terms of, oh, I forgot where I was going with that, but I guess it's that sometimes artists can seem very serious and you worry, like the worrying topics, but that kind of come back by that, honestly. So because I come from a family of worriers. So you were asking about inspiration. I think some of the folks I like when you think of Georgia O'Keeffe and her use of color, that really, I find that was very inspiring. And then on this sort of where the other end of the spectrum might be Francis Bacon, because of the action in his work, and some elements of the way he has described thinking about art, that really inspires me as well. So I'll just give you a little sneak on my easel, just because there's some new work that's emerging, which is water lilies. So I'll just show you, and I'll show you a couple of my dogs that are lying on their back. So there's the water lily series. I hope to put some of those up on the site in the next couple
oh,
of days. And there's a couple of the dogs on their back. Can you see them?
yeah, a little bit
Yeah,
down. Yeah, that's great. Oh yeah,
down. Yeah.
oh, you're using that really green that you're pulling from the palette right beside you.
I know it's really strong. I'm not sure if I'll tone it down. Those are just en route. Anyway, it was so nice to speak with you, Angela. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was great learning a little bit more about your practice. So you have a home studio there? Is that where you're at?
I do, yeah. I've been in there about 6 months, so you can just see it from outside here.
Right.
I'll take you in. Yeah.
And
So
oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm really enjoying having the chance to really dig in. And I was in, just so to give the context, up until now I was in a bedroom, like a 10 by 10 room. So now that I'm here, I have to remind myself, you can step back from the painting and take a look.
So are you painting bigger because of that? You have a little bit more space?
I will. I haven't really done that much bigger work yet, but I will be doing that. Yeah, for sure.
So just before we log off here, are people able to come see you, or like are you showing like doing like patio visits or anything like that for your work, or is it just online that we're able to see
I'm
your work?
happy to do that, but I'm not officially doing that.
Right. Okay.
But if somebody contacted me, for sure they could come and visit, because I can, easily bring things out or have the doors open or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have
Thanks
big
for
doors, right?
mentioning
So
that. So I'm really enjoying the online show, and I think that's just such a great opportunity. So
yeah,
thanks, Artist
yeah, and
Network, for that.
I also, yeah, I just also wanted to let people know that Katherine also is on the board of the Artist Network, and she does a lot of work with the Education Committee. And I just wanted to thank you for all the work that you're doing on behalf of all the artists across Canada with the work that you're doing to help artists. And I just want to thank you for that as well. So We're just saying
Okay.
bye, Catherine, and
We'll see you out and about.
yeah, we will.
Thanks,
I
everyone.
see your
Enjoy.
life. All
Okay.
right. Thanks
Bye
so
now.
much.